What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting they're possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions. Hello everyone, welcome once again. My name is Logan, and this is Decode Your Reality. Today I'm going to be decoding the revolution of this year, Revolution 2020. I mean, folks, can you feel it? Can you see it? And are you going to make it through it? There will be many people, and again, these are just my opinions, but there will be many people that will lose their lives during this revolution. I mean, if you get into theology, people will say it's the times of Armageddon, the end times. I mean, if you go back to any esoteric, they all tell the same story. It is a cycle, it is cyclical, and it is part of the ways of nature. Mankind just following and playing out its act. That's why I say the game of life is fixed. I really don't know how else to put it, and man is being used to carry out these agendas. And I have so much to talk about during this presentation, folks. If you noticed in the beginning of this video, I was highlighting the 2019 movie The Joker, the ending part of The Joker, and this is classic predictive programming because it is, a guy who completely becomes an anarchist in so many ways and is tired of everything and rises up, and just people go completely gangbusters and they completely pillage the city, which is exactly what is going to transpire in our upcoming days. And, in the news today is, the huge story on George Floyd and, people trying to decode it and break it down. But folks, whether it was real or not, there are some people that believe that George Floyd didn't die. And that is possible, folks, because, unless you're a coroner, unless you see his body, you don't know, because there are so many things that these bozos that try to run everything behind the golden curtain, in the shadows, they use a lot of trickery and illusory stuff and smoke and mirrors. So I wouldn't put it past them if it was a complete hoax. But even if it was not and it was real and he lost his lives, I mean, look at 9/11, over almost 3,000 people lost their lives. So, this is a big piece of the upcoming revolution. We're already in it, folks. We're already in the revolution. This is just another piece to push it forward. This guy right here, this cop, I mean, he's got his hands in it. It doesn't act like a normal human. During this video that I watched, I mean, kneeling on someone's head and neck with their hand in their pocket and just having no attention to anybody talking to you, just completely oblivious. Either the guy's under complete mind control, which is another possibility, or it's just all a big stage setup, and maybe George did lose his life as a sacrifice. No doubt about it, there are so many different possibilities. But nonetheless, folks, it's causing so many issues in our world. People looting and pillaging and doing things that have nothing to do with this whole incident. I mean, definitely, if Floyd is dead, then it should be a no-brainer. The cops that were involved should be put on trial and convicted, just like any other person would. But let's get into this, folks, because I want to show you why the revolution is coming. So here are my methods of decoding, and first and foremost we use numerology. Now I'm showing you this here because this is the location of the store or the market or the the produce store that started it all for this whole George Floyd story. And it's called Cup Foods. And again, that's why I say I'm going to show you the game. How can you explain anything other than the game of life is fixed? It's not man doing it. So Cup Foods equals the number 46. And then when you go to the numerology calculator and you type in the word revolution, that equals a number 46. I mean, how about that? You know, and then you look at this guy, Floyd, and his name, which people have pointed out, equals 119, which is the mirror of the 911, which is equal to the element tin. So we can take this 119 and we can go to the periodic table and we can look at the element tin here, the 50th element, and you know, it has an atomic weight of 119 right there. It's the most abundant weight, by the way. And tin is the element that is the merger of worlds. You know, right before the shift happens. That's what tin is all about. If you've watched my video on the Vesica Pisces and the flower of life in Taurus fields, it's the merger of worlds. And that's what George Floyd's name is related to in numerology. Very, very fascinating with that whole aspect. I wanted to point out here, folks, you know, this guy here, Eastern Kentucky, and this is one of his really early photographs. I've seen a few of them, but he's wearing the number 8. So, of course, hey, who just died that had the number 8 on their jersey? Well, yeah, you betcha. Mr. Kobe Bean Bryant. And the most fascinating part of this, folks, is, you know, you go to the time and date stamp, and Kobe died on January 26th, and George Floyd died on the 25th, and the timestamp is just 120 days. And then you look at that on the periodic table, and that's the element antimony, folks, which is the all-seeing eye of Horus. And, you know, I wanted to point out something that is very important. This is the 51st element. Well, you know, the City of London sits at a very specific position on the map. It sits at 51 degrees north. 51 degrees, X marks the spot, London. And 51, folks, when you go to the element antimony, you know, is linked to the 120, which is linked to the timestamp of Kobe and Floyd. Now, maybe that's a stretch, folks, but when you do the research that I do and you look at timestamps, this is absolutely relevant to what I'm showing you. Maybe this is the first time you're seeing this and you're saying, oh, that's really crazy, but not when you look at the research that I do, folks, because I see this over and over and over. Go watch some more of my videos. I'm not trying to win a prize. I'm not looking for a pat on the back. I'm just showing you possibilities, folks, so you can wake up and understand how this entire matrix works. So, I mean, what are the odds, folks? He wears the number 8. Kobe wears the number 8. They both died. Were they both sacrificed? Were they both killed? And then look, their timestamp is 120 days, which is related to the element antimony 51, and that's related to London, who is the crown. I mean, there's the crown right there. You see it around the city. I mean, so many things. Corona, crown, coronavirus. Are you seeing the big picture, folks? Part of the revolution. So nonetheless, here are the methods I'm using for decoding. I'm using the cards of illumination. These cards right here, the typical poker deck. I'm going to focus a lot on this, folks. So if this is the first time you're seeing it, just please pay attention. This is so important. And if you're a decoder, this is extremely valuable. This is a boilerplate chart, folks. This is fixed. There are 2 sides to this chart. There are 52 cards in a deck. 52 cards matching the 52 weeks of the year. There are 4 suits matching the 4 seasons. There is hearts, clubs, diamonds, and spades. And they all fit inside of this configuration. On the right side is the master life, or our ego, where most of the worldly events happen. And then on the left side is the master spirit, kind of our angelic aspect. The planets right here run in the middle, and they run horizontally. So this is kind of like a bingo chart. For example, the Jack of Hearts, it sits in the middle line. It's literally the middle of the cross. And I'm going to point that out, folks. There's a cross, a right side up cross, and an upside down cross. And that has everything to do with this revolution. Why this is so relevant. So nonetheless, your birthday is linked to a few of these cards, and you get that through this chart here. The months are at the top, and then the days are running vertically. And then your card, you can find it in here. For instance, the day that the Floyd incident happened, May 25th, was a 7 of clubs day. And you can read into the 7 of clubs. And these cards have great significance. I keep showing this over and over, folks. If you're not decoding with the cards, you're missing a huge piece of decoding. So if you want these charts, send me an email and I'll inbox them to you. decodeyourreality@gmail.com. I'm also going to be using the Animal Tarot, the 52 cards of the Animal Tarot. Notice the animals are linked to numbers, okay? And then, of course, using the Great Tarot system, which is linked to the cards of illumination. All of these are numbered, and these number cards can encroach upon one another. Card 33 can be card 34, just because of the Fool card being that Joker card. Okay, so keep in mind there are multiple ways to observe this. We're going to keep resorting back to that. But folks, here we go. This is the upcoming revolution, the predictive programming of Hollywood. I mean, folks, let me just say this, okay? Didn't you notice? I don't know if you're a movie buff, but there was practically no movies planned for this year. Not for the spring and summer. You go ahead and look that up, and you'll realize that there were no big movies planned like all the other previous years. Why is that? Because Hollywood knows what's going to happen. That should tell you something very, very important to know. So nonetheless, the decoding of the Joker, a few things standout-wise. It was a running time of 2 hours and 2 minutes. That's 22. What are we in the year of? 2020. If you drop the zeros, you have the 22. 22, folks, when I go to numerology, this is important. The number 22 is really important because it's tied to the word change. You see that, number 22 right there? It's also tied to the word alchemy. Alchemy is the change, blending things together. Okay, so 22 is very, very important. And 22 is tied to the element titanium. That's why that song, I Am Titanium, was sung, because it's related to this. And Saturn has a moon called Titan. And of course, if you study Greek mythology, it's all about the Olympians and the Titans. And there it is, 22, which is of course linked to 47. And 47, I keep showing this over and over, is linked to the Tetragrammaton right there, the ancient Israelite God in the Bible. Keep showing that, folks, which is, in my opinion, is running the show down here. Nonetheless, 22 is related to the Fool card, because the Fool can be observed as the 0 and the 22. Many occultists that use the tarot, they like to add the 22 to the Fool card, which you can observe, and that's why the other cards encroach upon one another. I mean, come on, Joker is the Fool. The Fool is the Joker. Common sense right here, folks. Purposely done. You know what you'd have to do to get this thing like this with all the other things involved? I mean, sure, you could do a few things, but man is being used to carry out an agenda that's not being run by us. Look at what it did in the box office on Wikipedia, 1.74 billion. 174 is tied to the element lutetium, as in Lu, as in Lucy, as in Lucifer, right there. It's one of Lucifer's elements. Now, obviously, Lucifer has the ties to being the fallen angel. As I go along in my research, folks, I'm beginning to kind of make sense of all this, and perhaps observe this in a way to where Lucifer's job is to basically decimate the earth, to shine light on it, and then of course, be the one to kind of rule mankind. And he's the angel of God, if you will, if you want to look at it that way. The divine, he's part of the tetragrammaton. There's really, I don't really know how else to look at it at this point of all the research that I do. But I mean, look at this. Manly P. Hall says that his number is 741. The element lutetium has an atomic mass of 174. It's right there, maybe not in the same order, but it's there. And of course, come on, Lucifer, and there's the Lu. I mean, if you use your common sense, you kind of would know that that's what this represents. And this did the box office of that number? So who is the Joker, man? He's this anarchist, here to change things. And you saw the beginning of this video. It's the ending scenes of the Joker. It's all about people rising up and creating that change. Now here's where we get into the cards, folks. The release date of the Joker was October 4th, 2019. And the October 4th card, the day of the October 4th card, is the 5 of Diamonds. Now, folks, diamonds, Lucy in the sky with diamonds, Lucifer, Lucy in the sky with diamonds. 5, if you understand numerology, 5 is the throat chakra. I'm speaking to you right now using my throat chakra, which is the color blue. It's my 5th chakra in the Vedic system. And it is the number of manifestations. It's where we manifest everything. It's where all government, politics, religion, and churches, and businesses, and the stock market, and money, and currency, everything is on the number 5 level. And of course, diamonds is money, physicality. And that's when this movie came out, October 4th. 5 of Diamonds. And of course, 5 is the only number that looks like a snake. It's the only number that looks like a snake, folks. The great dragon. The sine wave, the sin wave. This is the guy who was the producer and part writer of the movie, Todd Bunzel. This is where it gets really interesting. This guy's name is a 42. You can break it down even more. He's got the word crown there. COVID-19, I'm stretching with that. But his name is a 42. And that's the 3 of Spades. Now, what's important about the 3 of Spades, folks? Pay attention. This is important now. If you want to get another layer of decoding a valuable piece, it will be with the cards. It will look like this. This is the chart I showed you. I'm blackened out the other side because I'm only paying attention to this side here. But these are the 2 cards I just showed you. The release date of the Joker movie, which is all about revolution, and then the director and producer, the 3 of Spades, Todd Bunzel. They're both in the Saturn line. Now, the movie itself was in the Saturn-Neptune line because it runs vertically and there's Neptune. So this is if X marks the spot, like playing bingo, this would be the Saturn-Neptune card, and it would be card number 57. For those of you that have been following my research, you know what the 57 is tied to. That's when the movie The Joker came out, which is all about revolution. It's tied to Lucifer, folks. And then, of course, the 3 of Spades, Saturn's son, which is Jupiter, Zeus. It's Saturn and Zeus. It's father-son, 3 of Spades. That's the director and producer of this movie, The Joker, which is all about revolution. You bring those 2 cards together, folks. 5 diamonds, 3 spades. It's how you say it through numerology. It's how you say it through the spoken word. Look at the outcome that you get using 2 different ciphers, the ones I primarily use. You don't have to go beyond these two to get the narrative of what's going on in this matrix. But I mean, I think it's crystal clear, folks. 5 diamonds, 3 spades. The 2 cards that are linked to the movie The Joker and the upcoming revolution is linked to the element plutonium. Notice plutonium, the 94th element, it has an atomic mass. It has several, but one of them is 241. Look at that. It's a direct match of these 2 cards when you say them, which is related to the Joker, which is related to revolution. Why is plutonium important? Because it's related to the Lord Shiva, the god of destruction. And so you can see, folks, when I bring all these layers together, we tie them together, you can see that there is no way that people would be sitting down trying to map it out like this before they do it. It would not be possible. Too many moving parts to code it. It would be too many moving parts to code it. But when you decode it, you're clearly seeing the narrative of this matrix, the software that we're all playing out. It's already been written. And it's just playing it out, man, right there. And going back, this is the producer of the movie Joker. And here's the card of the movie itself coming out on October 4th. So you can clearly see, not fitting a square peg in a round hole, this has huge relevance to what's going on. And you can clearly tell what their narrative is. So moving along, here's where it gets even more interesting. Todd Bunzel, the producer, director, or half the writer, his name equals 42, 3 of spades. Well, the 42 is linked to the bad card in the animal tarot, folks. The 52 cards, they're called medicine cards. They're the animal tarot. Instead of symbols like spades or clubs, they have animals on them. And the 42nd card, matching the 42nd card in the Cards of Illumination, is the Bat card, as in Batman and the Joker, his nemesis. You couldn't make this stuff up, folks. You could not make this up if you tried. Look at how intricate this kind of stuff is. And why I'm telling you, the game of life is fixed. It has already been written. Long before you ever popped your head out of your mother's womb, this stuff was already written. And this stuff may have not come out until after you were born, but of course, as fate would have it, it's just the people that are being used to create it are going to create it this way. Because, look, there is such a thing as remote viewing, which are people being able to, look into different areas and peek into the future. And, maybe there is a such thing as time travel, but there is that many people doing time travel and they're doing all this stuff and coming up with all these things. I don't believe it. Man is being used, folks, to fulfill this upcoming revolution because life is cyclical. So you should be happy about that. It's supposed to happen. So there it is, Batman, Bat, 42. 3 of spades, producer of The Joker, the revolutionary movie. And when you look at this chart, folks, let me zoom in on this. I told you I want to primarily focus on the side. This is the ego, the world that we live in. But when you make a cross, an upside down cross, there's the right side cross. I'm going to get to that one in a minute. But when you make the upside down cross, the inversion of the worlds, obviously most people will relate it to being satanic. Notice that, the crossing over point is in the line of Saturn, as in Satan, satanic. Perhaps that's where it got its name from. But here's the card that was tied to the director and producer of the movie. He sits in the dead center bullseye of the cross, where the heart would go if you laid down on this cross, upside down. And it's the center point of this, folks. And this is tied to the guy who created the Joker, which is all about the upcoming revolution. And keep in mind, folks, the big standout is, what do bats do? They hang upside down. I mean, the right side up cross is right here. But the upside down one's right here, and it's the Bat card. And bats hang upside down. Which I didn't even get into the Hangman in the tarot, the 12th card, but we're talking about the 42nd card here, tied to the producer of the Joker and the revolution that's coming up, which is all part of this George Floyd incident. It's all part of the division. It's all planned out. Man is being used. So now we have the right side up cross, the one that most people that wear the symbol, they wear it this way. So the typical cross you'll see around someone's neck, and if anybody knows the cards of illumination, this is the Christ card. Thank you, Sharon. This is called the Christ card. And it's a heart. The heart. And, it sits in the dead center of the right side up. But folks, are these two one in the same? Are they just the opposing forces? Could it be Jesus and Lucifer playing out their roles? Jesus said he was a fisherman of men. He's going fishing. Well, maybe he's trying to catch people that want to really have love in their life. Maybe that's what it means. And that's the way you graduate this matrix, is by having love and service to others. That's the way I feel you should win. This whole revolution is necessary because you can't keep going on in this world with all these bunch of knuckleheads trying to run and keep you a slave. But nonetheless, what about the two cards that are part of the cross and the upside down cross? It's the 11 and the 42. The Jack of Hearts is the 11th card. Of course, because 11 is sodium. Sodium, if you've been following my work, is the salt bridge, which is related to Jesus, which is related to anode and cathode, positive and negative, plus and minus. The salt bridge in chemistry, if you study how batteries work and whatnot, the salt bridge is what connects the two circuits, which of course is sodium is the 11th element. Nonetheless, here's an interesting little nugget here. Moose and bat, they equal the number 33. And of course, folks, we know what the number 33 is. It's tied to Jesus and Lucifer because they both equal the number 74, and 74 is tied to arsenic, which is the 33rd element. So as you can see, it's just on, as Black Sabbath says, we go on and on. It's heaven and hell. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. Death and regeneration. We're going to get into that, but this was another little piece. If you want a really good book to read, go get this book. It's called Infinite Self by Stuart Wilde, one of the great authors. He's dead now, but amazing author. Look at the symbolism in there. Using that 8, infinite, 33 steps to reclaiming your inner power. Just wanted to put that in there because that's what this is all about, folks. It's Kundalini rising and going up, and that's got to be part of your own inner revolution. We're getting towards the tail end of this. Thanks for sticking with me. Joaquin Phoenix was the star of the Joker. Again, we're talking about revolution. Look at the sinks of this, people. Folks, the guy who played the Joker, his last name is Phoenix. I didn't even add in this, folks. You've been following my work, 58, nickel. Nickel has an atomic mass of 58. Nickel's the 28th element, which is related to Lucifer. This guy they picked to play the Joker, born on the 28th, by the way. 28 is Lucifer. I didn't even add that in on the screen here. But come on, when you use your common logic sense, are they sitting down and doing these castings and they're like, I gotta have somebody that was born on the 28th to match that of Lucifer in numerology? No freaking way. Now, yeah, granted, they picked him because his last name was Phoenix, and the whole story was about the Phoenix rising. That was the whole purpose of the story. So we keep going with that. Look at this. Phoenix in the English is 91. 91 is linked to the word battery. And if you go back to the cross, it's a battery, folks. It's up and down, up and down, up and down. Black Sabbath. It goes on and on. It's heaven and hell. This is hell. This is heaven. This is hell. This is heaven. Now, I'm not saying there's a hell where you're going to burn. I don't care about that stuff. I don't even care about the whole aspects of a heaven. All I know is there's something beyond what we call physicalness once we leave this place. This is a training ground. This is the game of life that we're playing, folks. We live in a battery. That's what we live in. Battery, 9 and 1. Those are the two opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to numbers. 1 and 9. You can't get any farther than that on each side unless you go to 10 and 0. And Phoenix equals that? That should tell you something, folks. Here's another example. Talking revolution, the upcoming revolution. Death and regeneration. That is the symbol of the infinity sign. The number 8, which is the symbolism of the phoenix. It represents the rising out of the ashes. Death and regeneration. That has a numerology of 169. Then you go to pi, the never-ending digits of pi, the very accurate pi. Folks, check this out. It appears at the 40th, decimal digit. 169 appears at the 40th decimal digit, which is linked to the element zirconium, which is 91, which is tied to battery and phoenix. Do you see what I'm showing you here, folks? And then when we move on even farther than that, the word zirconium, which is this element right there, equals 36, which is a match of phoenix in the Chaldean. So then you got to ask yourself, okay, well, what's the deal with zirconium then, the 40th element? Because death and regeneration is linked to it, phoenix is linked to it. Well, I'm glad you asked. Because then you go to the element zirconium. This is where the value of the periodic table comes into play, which not many people are using. People are just freaking throwing numerology out, trying to tie into numbers, and they think they got it figured out. Zirconium is the 40th element, has an atomic weight of 91. It's average anyway. But look at the actual description of it, folks. The ancient Egyptians used zircon gemstones in jewelry. For the ancient Egyptians, the scarab beetle, which is this right here, was a symbol of regeneration and creation, conveying ideas of transformation, renewal, and resurrection. And isn't that what this phoenix is all about? Which you go back to Death and Regeneration, which you go back to Joaquin Phoenix, who played in The Joker, which was about death and regeneration. This is a typical statement about death and regeneration in the phoenix. Rise from the ashes equals the number 188, going back to the string of pi. It appears at the 471st decimal digit, and I already showed you with that 471, it's tied to the light bringer. Now listen, the story of theology is that the light bringer, or I should say Satan, because Satan and Lucifer may be the two different entities, folks. They may not even be the same. I can't make that decision for you. But you know, if you study your Bible, Jesus even said that he's the morning star as well. So clearly, we now have something that can tie Lucifer and Jesus together. You know, we are Satan, folks. I mean, just watch the videos in the beginning. Human beings are the virus. We are Satan. We all have Satan within us. Satan just means adversary. I mean, if you look up at the sun, we're the adversary of the sun because you steal the light from the sun when you go outside. What do you contribute to the world? What do I contribute to the world? We steal things from the earth. We pillage it. We take fruit. We kill animals to eat and survive. Take the water. Take the oil. We steal, 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 steal. Folks, that's why I'm saying life is cyclical. Nothing to get afraid of when it comes to death because it's just a rebirth. Right here. It's why the ancient Egyptians, go study the scarab beetle. Transformation, renewal, resurrection, regeneration. Folks, it's cyclical. We are at the end of a cycle. And Hollywood, through the movies, is telling you that. They're entitled to do that. And they're being used to do it. Obviously, there are people that have the knowledge, but people are being used to fulfill and make these stories. I mean, come on. How do you pick a guy to play Arthur Fleck in the movie The Joker, and it's all about the rising of the Phoenix? That's what that whole movie's about. And you pick a guy who has a last name with Phoenix? Perhaps done on purpose in that mannerism. That's pretty easy. But, how many actors have a last name Phoenix? Kind of narrows it down. But I mean, look at these connections, folks. Here is the death and regeneration right there. Death and regeneration. Up and down. I mean, it is Saturn and Venus. That's what it is, because this is Venus's line right there. So you got Saturn and Venus, Saturn and Venus. That's what this is telling you here. I mean, these are clear. I mean, the producer's 42, and it's related to the card, the Bat, which hangs upside down, which is right here. Folks, I mean, it's crystal clear as far as I'm concerned. Here you go. This is what I'm going to leave it on, because this is what's upcoming. Lord Shiva coming out and doing what Lord Shiva does best, and that is the destruction of the world, which is a necessary thing to renew it. Revolution 2020, folks. My name is Logan. This is Decode Your Reality. Thanks for watching.